In the early 1990s, a pair of sisters were making their living by petty theft in a number of areas in India. Like many people who live within the shadows of crime, the sisters were always looking for new ways to improve their skills, especially at how not to get caught. It eventually struck them that, if they had a child with them, people would be less likely to see them as thieves. So they began a years-long campaign of kidnapping very young children to be used in their criminal activity. Of course, when they no longer needed the child, they had to find some way to get rid of them, so, like any horrible person would do, they just killed them. This is Monsters. Renuka Shinde was born in 1973 to a woman named Anjanabai and a truck driver who abandoned the family shortly after she was born. Shinde would eventually be her married name, and her birth name doesn't seem to be available, though she likely adopted her stepfather's name. Anjanabai later married Mohan Gavit, a retired soldier, and Seema Gavit was born in 1975. However, that marriage was also short-lived. Mohan eventually left Anjanabai and her daughters, moving in with another woman and having a family with her. That abandonment had a profound impact on the family, particularly on Anjanabai, who harbored deep resentment towards Mohan. With limited resources at her disposal, Anjanabai and her daughters initially moved to Nashik, hoping to reconcile with Mohan. However, her efforts were futile and they were forced to return to Pune in 1990, making it their base of operations. The Gavit sisters' introduction to the world of crime came at a young age, primarily through the influence of their mother. Before involving her daughters, Anjanabai had already established herself as a petty criminal, specializing in pickpocketing and snatching jewelry in crowded places across Maharashtra. Her criminal activities were so extensive that she had accumulated approximately 125 cases of petty theft against her name. As the sisters grew older, Anjanabai began to involve them in her criminal activities. The family would travel to various locations in western Maharashtra, targeting crowded events such as processions, festivals, and popular temples. At those gatherings, they would steal valuables and ornaments from unsuspecting women, using the chaos and crowds as cover for their illicit activities. Anjanabai's influence on her daughters was profound and ultimately destructive. She not only introduced them to a life of crime, but she also instilled in them a deep-seated anger and desire for revenge against their father/stepfather and his new family. That vindictive nature reached its peak when Anjanabai, along with Seema and Renuka, plotted to kidnap and kill Mohan's eldest daughter from his second marriage, as well as his new wife, Pratibha. What began as a twisted form of retribution soon spiraled into a horrifying spree of kidnappings and murders that would span nearly a decade. Anjanabai's criminal teachings extended beyond mere theft. She instructed her daughters to work in pairs, moving through crowded places during festivals to maximize their chances of success. That method of operation would later evolve into a more sinister practice. One time, Renuka went to a temple to look for victims and she brought her infant son with her. She stole a man's wallet, but he caught her and started yelling. When a crowd gathered around, her son started crying and Renuka said, quote, "How can a woman with a child commit a crime?" That seemed to get the angry mob to calm down, and that's when Renuka went home and told her mother and sister her new plan. The sisters would kidnap young children, primarily from crowded places such as temple compounds, railway stations, and fairgrounds. Those innocent victims were then used as a cover for their criminal activities, particularly theft and pickpocketing. Then they would either abandon the children somewhere, or worse, kill them. Their first kidnapping in 1990 was of an 18-month-old boy named Santosh, the son of a beggar woman. Seema was caught stealing a wallet, so Renuka threw Santosh to the ground, and when he started wailing, she yelled at the crowd for making her drop her baby. Once the crowd's attention was on the child, they let the women go, hoping the infant would be okay. Once they were away from the area, Santosh continued to cry and they were afraid he would attract attention, so they beat his head against some iron bars until he was dead. Then they dumped his body in a scrapyard. The second child they kidnapped was 9-month-old Naresh. They kept him for a couple of months, using him as a tool for their theft, but when he got sick, Anjanabai suggested killing him. Renuka didn't want that to happen and abandoned him near a temple. He was found and sent to an orphanage. They laid low for a while, but when they ran short of money in 1993, they kidnapped another child and started looking for victims in Bombay. Their new abductee was a 1-year-old named Bunty. Soon they snatched 2 more children, 2-year-old Guru and 3-year-old Swati. All 3 were used for thefts, and once Bunty was thrown to the ground to cause a distraction just like the first child had been. When the women moved locations, they left Swati behind and she was eventually found by the police. After about a month, the women strangled Bunty and Gadu and disposed of their bodies on the side of the road in different areas. The sisters immediately kidnapped another young girl, 2-year-old Anjali, but she cried often and it bothered Anjanabai, so the girl was thrown down a set of stairs and suffocated. There are records of a 7-month-old victim named Raja and a 9-month-old named Shraddha having been kidnapped and killed by the sisters as well. In 1995, Anjanabai's resentment of Mohan for leaving her and starting a new family had bubbled over. She wanted revenge, and so she worked with her daughters to make that revenge a reality. Seema met with her father and asked if his youngest child, Kranti, could come with her for a visit. Mohan initially said no, but his daughter was able to persuade him to change his mind and he agreed to let Kranti go with her. He would never have thought that Seema would do anything to hurt her own sister, but she would, and she did. When Seema failed to return their daughter the next day, Mohan filed a report with the police, and when they tried to investigate, the entire family along with Kranti were gone. It wasn't until 3 months later that Renuka, Seema, and Anjanabai took Kranti out to a sugarcane field and killed her. The sisters continued committing crime with the use of kidnapped children over the course of the following year, but the murder of Kranti wasn't enough to soothe Anjanabai's bitterness. She wanted both of Mohan's daughters dead. She told Seema and Renuka that they needed to kidnap Kranti's older sister, Devli. On October 10, 1996, Renuka and Seema went to Devli's school and tried to pick her up, claiming there was a family emergency. Fortunately for the girl, the school refused. That should have made the criminals go into hiding, but they didn't seem concerned that the school would report the incident, which they did. That led to their arrest around October 20th of that year. A crucial breakthrough came when the police searched the sisters' house in Nashik. They discovered evidence of multiple kidnappings, including discarded children's clothing and photographs from birthday parties showing the presence of non-local children. That discovery opened up a broader investigation, revealing the true extent of their heinous activities. Renuka Shinde, her husband Kiran Shinde, Seema Gavit, and Anjanabai Gavit were charged with 14 kidnappings and 9 murders. As the case progressed, Anjanabai became ill and passed away, leaving the sisters to answer for the crime spree. The trial was a complex and lengthy process. The prosecution examined 156 witnesses during the proceedings, building a strong case against the sisters. A significant turning point came when Kiran began working with the authorities. He provided crucial details about the crimes that were committed, the disposal of the bodies, and the roles played by Anjanabai, Renuka, and Seema. The Gavit sisters exhibited a chilling lack of empathy and remorse throughout their criminal activities. According to the prosecution's account, the sisters showed no concern or remorse for their victims at any point during their heinous acts. That absence of guilt is a common trait amongst individuals who commit such brutal crimes. The sisters' ability to carry out multiple kidnappings and murders over an extended period suggests a severe disconnect from normal human emotions and moral considerations. Clinical psychologist Dr. Raja Mitra, who has extensive experience working with offenders, notes that while the Gavit sisters have been labeled as serial killers in some news reports, their case doesn't fit the typical profile. He explained that true serial killers are often driven by an uncontrollable urge to kill, which doesn't seem to be the case with the Gavit sisters. Instead, their crimes appear to have been motivated by more practical considerations, such as eliminating witnesses or disposing of children who are no longer useful to their criminal enterprise. On June 28, 2001, the judge at Kolhapur convicted the sisters for kidnapping 13 minor children and killing at least 6 of them, 4 girls and 2 boys. The court sentenced them to death for their horrific crimes. The legal battle continued as the case moved through the higher courts. On September 9, 2004, the Bombay High Court upheld the conviction but reduced the number of proven murders to 5. 2 years later, on August 31, 2006, the Supreme Court of India confirmed the death sentence, making Renuka Shinde and Seema Gavit the first women in independent India to face execution. They went on to file mercy appeals, but they had gone years without an answer. Then the story took an unexpected turn in January of 2022. The Bombay High Court commuted the death sentences to life imprisonment. The court cited the state's gross and unexpected delay in processing their mercy petitions as the result of that decision. The verdict highlighted how such a delay had a dehumanizing effect on the convicts and criticized the neglect and indifference of state government officials that led to that outcome. The actions of Renuka Shinde and Seema Gavit, which were assisted by their mother Anjanabai, have had a profound influence on the criminal justice system in India, sparking debates about child protection measures and the treatment of female offenders. The case also highlights the complex interplay between childhood trauma, societal factors, and the development of criminal behavior. No matter how you slice it, though, using children, infants, the most fragile among society, as a tool for criminal activity and then just murdering them and tossing the bodies almost feels like monster is too good a label for them. I almost don't know what to call them, but I can assure you I will never call them human. If you're a fan of true crime, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss an episode. You can also hit like or leave us a comment. You can check out our other show, Somewhere Sinister, on YouTube or anywhere that you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to support the show, check out our merchandise at thisismonsters.com. The link is in the description. Thanks again, and be safe.